So one of the questions we get asked a lot about is strategy to either use AI inside Advice Designer, or how would we turn Advice Designer into an AI first product? So it's still very much early days and things are moving quite quickly, as you would appreciate. What we are finding increasingly is that because of the way we've built the platform, the structured data that we keep, and even just the intuitive workflows and advice authoring layers that we built, it does lend itself perhaps to some of the upcoming innovation that we're seeing on the frontier models, particularly even with what's likely to happen in the future with some of the browser technology that's emerging. So we're obviously seeing OpenAI release a browser. We've seen Perplexity release a browser, and it's become clear that Google is going to be releasing a agentic AI capability to its browsers really, really shortly. You can already access some of this capability as it is today by using some of the Claude plugins into web browsers. Now, I should obviously, full disclosures here, be very careful with what you're using these for. So obviously this is just a test environment that we're working on. We probably wouldn't be using this with real live data, but the reality is it does give us a really good insight just how powerful these models are. So what I've actually done here is I just wanted to show you the latest Claude model, which is Opus 4.6. And what we did was we decided to give it a bit of a challenge. We said to it, look, here's all the data inside Advice Designer. So effectively, the paraplan has done a lot of the work already. So obviously, all of the modeling's been completed. We've got our scope of strategy in place. We've got our client data and fact finds are all fully completed. So it has all the information, that we need to, I guess, validate was the advice correct, or is there other things we need to think about? And whilst we have some plans to release some AI capability that, I thought it would be quite cool to see, well, what if we let Claude 4.6 loose on this and see what it does? And I asked it a simple question. I said, can you review for me the financial advice strategies laid out in this advice designer scenario for these clients, and using their data in the About You section, which is here, the fact find? Help me determine what are some alternative strategies that could be considered in the appropriate section and why they were not considered. And this is often an area that I think paraplanners advisors can struggle with, because quite often the problem with the statements of advice is we often have to explain away what we're not doing and why we're not, even though it's blindingly obvious as to why those strategies aren't appropriate. And it's just a time lag on the process. And there are some tools out there at the moment in the market that will do that. They'll use scoring algorithms and things like that. But I thought, well, let's just do it inside Advice Designer and see what actually kind of happens. So we got some pretty interesting results. So what I will say is this pretty much chewed up my entire allowance for the day for the 4.6 model. So it actually conducted 117 steps in this process, took a whole bunch of screenshots, and to save you all a bit of time, I have just sort of short-circuited this. It took about 6 minutes to do this process, but I thought it would be quite cool to sort of see through its working. So let me just go all the way to the bottom. So effectively what it has done here is come up with, looked at all the strategies that we have recommended as part of this scenario. So of course there's 7 strategies here, and you'll see here it's actually come up with 7 alternative strategies for every single strategy that we selected inside the platform. So in this area here where it says alternative strategies considered, rather than actually potentially starting with a blank sheet of paper, which is what some people do, or sometimes use some other fact find information they might have, for example, this has actually given us some really good reasons why we didn't do other things. So one example here is it's suggested that we could have done personal deductible contributions and salary sacrifice, but it obviously said here that's not as good. We prefer the automated approach, requires no discipline to do salary sacrifice, and obviously there's some cash flow benefits there as well. It obviously thought here a lot about debt management, should there be additional home loan payments, and what it said here was not recommended because the offset strategy provides, and I love this bit, offset strategy provides greater flexibility and liquidity considering Soti's got a European trip and wants to save for a future investment property. And the cool thing about that was, you'll actually see that was in the goals. So it's already starting to pick out. And I think what we're learning more and more with these tools, even just by the way, Advice Designer, is that the more structured the data we have, even if the human does a bit of the heavy lifting early doors just to get that result right, we can then start putting AI into the platform more and more once it has that full picture. of the data in here as well. So I thought that was a really powerful example, particularly with alternative strategies, and somewhere where I think we can see some quite immediate benefits of deploying AI in the platform in a really safe way, in a controlled way. Still very much a human-led process, but I thought that was super cool and well worth sharing with you.